Hello, welcome to the Idiocracy Collective with me, your host, Vinny Dean. Today we're going to be going through Paladins, Rangers, and Rogues. The reason I wanted to separate from the previous martial videos of Barbarians, Fighters, and Monks is because Paladins and Rangers specifically, they get innate spellcasting built within their class. Although they are known as half-casters, which means that their spell progression goes from level 1 to 5, rather than 1 to 9, which are usually full casters, wizards, sorcerers, clerics. Warlocks are a little bit different. Again, I'll go into that in a later video. But they do get a much slower progression from level 1 to 20. They actually start with their spellcasting at level 2. But I just wanted to go into a little bit more detail about that, the kind of the spellcasting that they get in regard to their subclasses, because they get something called a spell list, which is fantastic. And, that gives you a little bit of option. Well, it gives you options to kind of design your character the way you want to play them with the access to the spells that they do get. With rogues, though, they're a little bit different. Rogues themselves, although they can be great fighters, they get an ability called Sneak Attack, which allows at higher levels to get a fistful of dice to roll out to represent, them sneakily kind of like stabbing someone between plates of armor and things like that under certain conditions to activate that feature. They get access to a lot of different skills through abilities like Reliable Talent, which allow their skills, if they're proficient in them or have expertise, to, even if you roll a 2 or a 1, you count it as a 10. And they get access to things like Expertise, which allows them to not only become proficient in a skill, which allows them to add their proficiency bonus to, say, acrobatics, athletics, arcana, investigation, nature, survival, investigation, perception, all these great skills. The expertise allows them to double up that proficiency. So you can get people that, when they're at much higher levels, have like plus 16s to stealth, and, these insane rolls that they can these insane numbers, that they can kind of achieve on, especially with Reliable Talent, they'll roll a 2, but because they've got expertise and stealth, they roll a 34. So it's definitely a fun class to play around with if you want to not only want to be dominant on the battlefield, but out of battle, you want to be pretty handy in any situation. So before I say so, let's also as well, let me tell you about some of the amazing things I've been doing. So I've learned how to screen record, which sounds a little bit silly since I'm only 34, but it's going to give me the ability to physically go online and, instead of writing block text on the video after I've kind of done, my explanations and things like that into certain features, what have you, and just put block text up there, it's going to allow me to physically show you what's written down. And one of the big things that I'm going to be using is D&D Beyond. Now, D&D Beyond, if you're unaware, is owned by Wizards of the Coast. It's a great app that you can kind of create a character on. It's got loads of information on it about D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. And Wizards of the Coast, who kind of owns D&D Beyond, they, in fact, own the actual IP of Dungeons and Dragons through Hasbro. They are the ones as well that release the books and all the the supplements, and the recent update, the 2024 rules, which again I'll be getting on a later date. It's just D&D Beyond's just a fantastic website that, if you're new to D&D, I would say spend a little bit of time on there, just going through some of the classes and finding out what works best for you. Now, let's actually get into it now. We'll be starting off with the Paladins. Thank you. Now, on D&D Beyond, which is great, and I really advise you to have a little glance through the actual little kind of description about what a Paladin is. I'm sure a lot of people, if they look into it, they've already got a rough idea of kind of what a Paladin is. A Paladin swears to uphold justice and righteousness and stand with the good things of the world against the encroaching darkness. Yada, yada, yada. But for me personally, I like to find out kind of what classes do and mold them around the character I want to play. And if you want to play a specific archetype, like a Paladin, a Paladin class is a great way to start. They've got all that kind of built in there for you. And all of this kind of great stuff, like, creating a Paladin here, it talks about a few of the different gods, Torm, Tyr, Heronius, Paladin, the Silver Flame, Bahamut, Heimdall, if you're into your kind of Nordic stuff. It just gives you a really, really good basis on, a little bit of background on kind of what the Paladin class, the origins come from, and, some of the stuff to think about when you're creating your Paladin. With the quick build, you can make a Paladin quickly by following the suggestions. First, Strength, which will be your highest ability score, followed by Charisma, because you'll find a lot of the features of the Paladin are based on their charisma, not just like things like your difficulty class, like your DC, but the amount of times you can use an ability before you have to take a long rest. Second, choose the noble background, which has got a load of little kind of added features that kind of add to the ethos of the Paladin. It gives you a few sort of skills and things like that as well that you can choose from that might be worthy of the Paladin. You also, I believe, on the noble background, get a few added bonuses on it with abilities and things like that. But I'll pop that in the screen bit here, as I've been silly and not Googled them straight away. I wanted to make the video too much, Anyway, the Paladin table. Now, this is going to be the rundown from level 1 to 20. As you can see kind of here, these are kind of the features and things that you get within their level 1 to 20. We are in this video only going to be going from level 1 to 5, because I just want to give people a bit more of a basis of, the basic abilities that Paladins get kind of as they're starting out. When I do a full class guide, I will be going in from level 1 to 20. But with Paladins, you get innate spellcasting, which is awesome. Paladins have got their own spell list as well. And when we talk about things like the spells you can prepare as a Paladin, it's really good because you get access to the whole spell list and you get to choose what amount of spells you wish to prepare per day. So it's kind of like a little buffet of, I'd like to try this, I'll try that, which is always fun. Now, you start off by getting your spellcasting at level 2, which means you get 2 level 1 spell slots. This is a great little grid, by the way, kind of showing your spell progression. Second level spell slots, you get that at 5th level, which is fantastic. And it kind of, at 9th level, you get access to 3rd level spell slots. And, as you kind of go up, you get access to more and more spell slots. And by the end of your career, you should have level 5 spell slots, level 4, 3, 2, and 1. And quite a nice amount of them to Divine Smite with, which is a feature we're going to learn about. And it's probably the most well-known feature of the Paladin. So, one thing to mention before, breaking your oath. When you start to get to level 3, you'll have something called a Sacred Oath, which will go into your subclass. You'll get a channel divinity from it, load of specific spells to that class that may not be accessed by the Paladin spell list, by the way, and only through that subclass can you cast these types of spells. If you played Baldur's Gate 3, it's really easy to break your oath, and you can become what's known as an Oathbreaker Paladin, where, the DM, if you say, I'm never going to do this, and then you do it in the campaign, they may go, all the features of the Paladin that you've got there, you're now a fighter, because you've lost all that stuff. Or, narratively, they might have to seek redemption from someone that follows their faith, or, some religious leader or something like that. Or they might literally take the subclass of the Oathbreaker Paladin, which gives you loads of fun stuff like Animate Dead and what have you. But we'll go more into that in a little bit. Now, the class feature, you get a D10 hit die, which is pretty good. Second highest in the game that you can get, as well as fighters and rangers and things like that. Obviously, first level, you get 10 plus your constitution modifier. Hit points at higher levels, you get to roll a D10 or 6 plus your constitution modifier. You get proficiency in all armor and shields, which is great. You can go as a nice heavy armor, pop a shield on there, and you've got a pretty good AC to start tanking hits with. You also get access to simple weapons and martial weapons, which is great. You basically get access to pretty much all weapons then. No tool proficiencies. Some subclasses, though, do give you access to tool proficiencies, but it's not baked into the main class. Now, saving throws. Here's a fun one. So you get access to wisdom and charisma saving throws. You get proficiency in them. Now, the best way I found to know the difference between wisdom and charisma, wisdom is attacking your mind. yeah, or you're attacking someone else's mind if you're making them roll a wisdom saving throw. You're trying to charm them, you're trying to, change something about them, you're trying to suggest something to them, what have you. Charisma is attacking their body, their physical body, like a spell like Bane, which is the opposite of Bless, where if you bless someone, they get a plus D4 to attack rolls and saving throws. Bane is the opposite. If you cast it on an enemy, and Bane allows you to target 3 enemies, if they fail, they lose a D4 off their attack rolls and their saving throws. So it's almost like, you're not making them physically weaker, but you're attacking their body's ability to do things. And, it can even be with a charisma saving throw, you banish them to another plane with banishment. Yeah. So it's got it. I think for the Paladin, having wisdom, proficiency in wisdom and charisma saving throws really does make sense. Yeah. Now, your equipment, you start with the following equipment: either a martial weapon and a shield, 2 martial weapons, or 5 javelins and any simple weapon, or a priest pack and an explorer's pack. Now, luckily on D&D Beyond, I can actually look at what's in a priest pack. And if you wanted a priest pack, you can get a blanket, 10 candles, a tinderbox, an alms box, 2 blocks of incense, a censer, vestments, 2 rations, and a water skin. Explorer's pack, I'm not going to lie, all I'd want from this is the rope, a bedroll, a mess kit, a tinderbox, 10 torches, 10 days of rations, and a water skin, and 50 feet of hempen rope. Just think of what you can do with 50 feet of rope, guys. It's unimaginable the things you could do, let me tell you, if you're an inventive player. Some of the stuff I've seen anyway. You get chainmail and a holy symbol. Now, a holy symbol can be used as your spellcasting focus. You can say, you clutch, as you're about to cast your spell, you clutch your spellcasting focus, your holy symbol, which allows your body to manifest the spell that you're casting into the physical world, as it's literally called, a spellcasting focus. And spellcasting focuses are needed by spellcasters to harness their spells and use them. And you get spellcasters with staffs and orbs and all these other great little things that they can use to manifest their spells into the world. Now, at first level, one of the first features you get is Divine Sense. Now, Divine Sense, let's have a read of it. The presence of strong evil registers on your senses like a noxious odor, and powerful good rings like heavenly music in your ears. As an action, you can open your awareness to such forces until the end of your next turn. You know the location of any celestial, fiend, or undead within 60 feet of you that is not behind total cover. Yeah, you know the type, celestial, fiend, or undead, of any being whose presence you sense, but not its identity. Yeah, so you know it might be an undead. They use an example here of Count von Strahd. Yeah, they can't be behind a wall, by the way. They can't be behind total cover. So he could say Count von Strahd. It's Count Strahd von Zorowicz, sorry. He could be sat in the corner because he's a vampire. He could be sat in the corner. Spoiler alert, by the way. He could be sat in the corner on a chair, invisible, but you would know that he's in the room with you. You just wouldn't know it was him. You just know it would be an undead. And you can use this feature a number of times, equal to 1 plus your charisma modifier. So again, your charisma modifier is extremely important to a paladin. It's not the be all and end all, but having a good charisma modifier is pretty clutch. Yeah, when you finish a long rest, you regain all expended uses. Yeah, so the more charisma modifier you've got, the more times you can actually use this. Here's the second feature you get on first level: Lay on Hands, which is your healing pool, which is, again, great. Your Blessed Touch can heal wounds. You have a pool of healing power that replenishes when you take a long rest. With that pool, you can restore a total number of hit points equal to 5 times your Paladin level. Yeah, as an action. So it does take an action, by the way. So it's not the most strategic thing. You can't bless someone unless you got action surge to use another action. You can't lay hands on someone and then heal them and then go and attack the enemy. So you do need to be a little bit strategic with it. As an action, you can touch a creature and draw power from the pool to restore a number of hit points to that creature up to the maximum amount remaining in the pool. Alternatively, you can spend 5 hit points from your pool of healing to cure the target of 1 disease or neutralize 1 poison affecting it. You can cure multiple diseases and neutralize multiple poisons with a single use of Lay on Hands, expending hit points separately for each one. So, if one of your allies is doing really badly, you can either heal them or you can kind of, if they're getting hit by poison every turn and they're failing a con save, you can save them from that. Again, strategically as you wish. Doesn't work on undead or constructs, which kind of makes sense. They're not really alive, are they? And depend on how you want to kind of reason that. You do get access to a fighting style though at level 2. Yeah, and this kind of gives you a bit more of what specialization you go with. I've gone through some fighting styles before, but I'll go through quickly with them. You've got defense. While you're wearing armor, you gain a +1 to AC. That's always good. Extra AC is fun. It makes your paladin a bit tankier. Dueling, when you're wielding a melee weapon in one hand and no other weapon, you gain a +2 bonus to damage rolls with that weapon. So if you're wielding a longsword and a shield, because that's not classed as a weapon, it's a shield, you get an extra flat +2 damage to it, which again, turn over turn over turn over whole campaign, that +2 damage is a lot. Yeah, you don't think of it now because it's just +2, but it's a lot. This next one's always good for people that want to wield like a great axe or something. When you're a great weapon fighting, when you roll a 1 or 2 on the damage die for an attack you make with a melee weapon that you are wielding with 2 hands, you can re-roll the die and must use the new roll. Yeah, that weapon must have the 2-handed or versatile property for you to gain that benefit. So if you're rolling a lovely D12 for a great axe and you roll a 1, you get to re-roll that dice, which an average for a great axe is, I believe it's 6 or 7. Yeah, so you can get a nice amount of extra damage. Now, next one is protection. This is for individuals that want to be a bit more of say stalwart, kind of bulwark, protect their allies, kind of. When a creature you can see attacks the target other than you, that is within 5 feet of you, you can use your reaction to impose disadvantage on the attack roll. You must be wielding a shield. Yeah. Now, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit situational. You've got to be within 5 feet of them and you use your reaction just to give them disadvantage. I mean, okay, if that's the kind of motif you want to go with, where maybe your whole purpose of your character is that you as a child became a king's guard to a prince that is played by another player character, and you don't move away from them within 5 feet. You are always within 5 feet of them to protect them. Again, it's very limited, but it can be done. And it can be done with any of your allies or what have you. Now, at second level, spellcasting, you have learnt to draw on divine magic through meditation and prayer to cast spells as a cleric does. Now, a cleric is a full caster from level 1 that gets spell slots from level 1 to 9 throughout his whole career, other than 1 to 5, which is a paladin, but they kind of work very similarly. Now, see the spell rules. Again, going to do a separate video on spellcasting. I just want to go through the general stuff now so you've got a basic idea on the class. And for the general rules for spellcasting on the spells list for the Paladin spell list. Again, Paladins have their own spell list with a lot of spells that haven't got access to other casters. Usually a lot of smites and things like that. But again, do a separate video on the Paladin spell list to kind of break it down for people. Otherwise, I'll just be on the Paladin for about half an hour. Preparing and casting spells. The Paladin table shows how many spell slots you have to cast your Paladin spells. Again, that table at the top that kind of went through showing at what level how many spell slots you'd have. To cast one of your Paladin spells at first level or higher, you must expend a spell slot of the spell's level or higher. You expend all expended spell slots when you finish a long rest. So you get them all back after your long rest. It's not like a short rest. It has to be a long rest. And even if a spell is like level 1, you can still use a level 2 spell slot to cast that level 1 spell. And sometimes spell slots have upcast benefits where you do a bit of extra damage, or you can target an additional creature with it, which is always beneficial. You prepare the list of Paladin spells that are available for you to cast, choosing from the Paladin spell list. When you do so, choose a number of Paladin spells equal to your Charisma modifier. Again, Charisma modifier. Plus half your Paladin level, rounded down, minimum of 1 spell. The spells must be of a level from which you already have slots. So you can't prepare level 4 spells when you're only 5th level and you can only cast level 1st and 2nd spells, which makes sense. It gives you an example there of, the spell slots here. If you're a 5th level Paladin, you have 4 first level and 2 second level slots with a charisma of 14. Your list of prepared spells can include 4 spells of 1st and 2nd level in any combination. Yeah, if you prepared the 1st level spell Cure Wounds, you can cast it as a 1st or 2nd level. And if you look at Cure Wounds there, it's a 1st level spell. You do 1d8 plus your spellcasting ability modifier. At higher levels, the upcast is you get to add another d8. So if you cast it at a higher level spell, even though Paladins are quite limited in their spell slots, if you're a druid or a cleric and you've got 6th, 7th level spells and you really need to get someone up and give them a nice big bunch of hit points, you can cast Cure Wounds on them at 5th level and, get 6, at 5th level and do 5d8 plus your spellcasting ability modifier, which is always good. You can change your list of prepared spells when you finish a long rest. Preparing a new list of Paladin spells requires time spent in prayer and meditation, at least 1 minute per spell level for each spell on your list. Yeah. I mean, as a DM, I'm not really worried about you saying, oh, by the way, I spent 10 minutes preparing my spells, just to let you know. Like, yeah, sure. One good thing about the Paladin and the cleric especially is when they're preparing their spells, they get to pick from all the spells they've got. Say you're a sorcerer, you only get to pick from, you don't really prepare spells as a sorcerer. You just have access to the spells that you've picked and chosen that you want. So, there's a lot more organization that you need to do with your spell progression. With Paladins, though, you've got a buffet that you can pick from, whatever you want. This spell's not working out. Throw it away, try something else. I've not used this spell in ages. Do you know what? Let's take it out. Let's try this one. Yeah, so you've got a lot of variety there, and you can really enjoy having a different play style every long rest, really, if you want to. As a man of size, I do enjoy a buffet. Now, let's have a look at your spellcasting ability. Now, Charisma is your spellcasting ability for your Paladin spells. Since their power derives from the strength of your convictions, you use your Charisma whenever a spell refers to your spellcasting ability. In addition, you use your Charisma modifier when setting the saving throw DC difficulty class for a Paladin spell you cast and when making an attack roll with one. Now, the spell save DC is 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your Charisma modifier. So say if you're a 5th level Paladin with a +4 to Charisma, which is great, by the way, that's a +2. Oh, wait, I believe it's +3, sorry. Oh, no. Yeah, it's +3 because you're level 5. That's +3, yeah, to your proficiency bonus, +4, yeah, so it'd be 8 plus 3, 11 plus 4. So you'd have a DC of 15. Yeah, the difficulty class that the enemy has got to roll to or beat to not be affected by your spell. Same as the attack modifier. That is your proficiency bonus plus your charisma modifier. So again, if you're level 5, it's 8. Sorry, 7. Because it's a +3, +4. Terrible at maths. Mr. Neurodivergent over here. Now, spellcasting focus, you use a holy symbol as the spellcasting focus for your Paladin spells. Now, again, you do get given a spellcasting focus at the start. You can get some weapons that count as your spellcasting focus. It's very easy to get a spellcasting focus. It's usually never difficult. Now, on to the biggest ability, probably biggest martial gish ability, where it mixes like for single damage on mass, sort of in exchange of spell slots. The reason Paladin is known to be an absolute nova damage dealer, the amount of multi-classing that goes into it, is because of this feature. It's Divine Smite. Starting at 2nd level, when you hit a creature with a melee weapon attack, you can expend 1 spell slot to deal radiant damage to the target. In addition to the weapons damage, the extra damage is 2d8 for a 1st level spell slot. Yeah, so you get in an average, I believe it's 9 there, or 10. Yeah, plus 1d8 for each spell slot higher than the first, to a maximum of 5d8. The damage, by the way, if you're fighting fiends or undead, increases by 1d8 to a maximum of 6d8. Yeah, so if as you get in later levels and you have access to these spell slots, the amount of people that I know, that after a long rest go face like a great demon that's a boss and they're buffed by their party, they are just nuking that thing to the ground. Yeah, unless you get a sneaky DM that slips in a bit of radiant resistance or something like that, which I've had to do in the past. Don't tell my party. Again, an incredible ability that so many people will, they'll do 5-6 levels of Paladin and they'll go into Sorcerer or they'll go into Bard or whatever because they are full casters and get access to spell slots more readily throughout their spell progression. And and it turns, you get like the Sorkadin, which is the Paladin sorcerer. You get these builds that people make that are known to be the biggest, the craziest builds in the game. The mid maxers. It's all because of Divine Smite. Now, let's go off Divine Smite because again, I could talk about it for hours and the experiences that I've had with players and being a Paladin as a player. Next, we've got Divine Health, which is our first third level feature. Now, in third level, the divine magic flowing through you makes you immune to disease. Great. Cuts out a load of little spells that might be very annoying to you that physically cause you to have a disease. Disease is a bit of a weird one in D&D. I've never seen it massively been used. It's always more like curses and things like that. But, it is out there. It is in the wording of certain things. But again, that just gives you basically immunity to it, which is great. Now, here's the real fork in the road that you kind of get to decide where you want to be going with your Paladin, what you want their reason for being is, what their righteousness is based upon. That's your Sacred Oath at third level. Now, this is your subclass. Yeah, and when you reach third level, you swear the oath that binds you as a Paladin forever. Up to this time, you have been in a preparatory stage. My God, I practiced that about 3 times before I did this video. Preparatory stage, committed to the path, but not yet sworn to it. Now you choose the oath. The oath of devotion, which I'll go into in a minute, detailed at the end of the class description. Yada 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 from another source. Your choice grants you features at third level, and again at 7th, at 15th, and at 20th level. Those features include oath spells and the channel divinity feature. Now, level 20 is always like a transformation aspect. Yeah, like Holy Nimbus. And essentially what you do is the last level, you kind of have this transformation where you get a list of abilities and things that kind of you can now do in this new form that you've got. You turn Super Saiyan, essentially. And again, you get oath spells. Let's have a look at the oath spells. Each oath has a list. So each subclass has a list of associated spells. You gain access to these spells at the level specified in the oath description. Once you gain access to an oath spell, you can always have it prepared, which is great. So it doesn't go against the number of spells that you normally would have as a Paladin. It's just extra spells. And again, some of those spells aren't on the Paladin spell list. So you can get some real variety there depending on what you want. Now, here's the other part, channel divinity. Your oath allows you to channel divine energy to fuel magical effects. Each channel divinity option provided by your oath explains how to use it. Yeah, so when I'm going through the Paladin, I'm just going to give a brief description. If you want to go in on D&D Wiki, which I've got a lot of the Paladin subclasses on, you are free to do so and read them more in depth. Again, I'm only going to go to the 5th. I might talk a little bit more about the later spells and a bit about what they do. But yeah, when you use your channel divinity, you choose which option to use. You must then finish a short or long rest to use your channel divinity again. So you don't get a lot of these. You don't get loads of opportunities to use your channel divinity, 4 or 5 times in a battle. It's like a big thing that happens. You choose when to use it, and then you've got to wait. Yeah. So it's a bit of resource management there. Now, some channel divinity effects require saving throws, yeah? Now, you just treat them like normal DC, yeah, from your Paladin spell list. At level 4, you get your ability score increase / feat. As a Paladin, you get 5 in your career. You get 4th, 8th, 12th, 16th, or 19th. Not going to lie, the 16th or 19th, again, most campaigns don't go up to past level 13. So you're really only going to get 4 opportunities to get feats or ability score increases. And Paladins are very stat hungry. They want strength or dex. They want charisma, definitely. And they want con. And whatever else you're doing with wisdom and intelligence and dexterity, if you're not a dex builder, what have you. So it's Paladins, you want to be planning ahead with them. Now, at level 5, you get extra attack, which is great. As I always say, level 1 to 4 in D&D is a survival horror because you haven't got a lot of hit points, you can't do a lot of stuff, and you only get 1 attack. So level 5, where you get 2 attacks, again, can make the difference. You really start to feel like things are coming online at level 5, which is awesome. Now, let's have a look at our oaths, which is great. I'm going to pause it for a second. I'll be going on to each. So let's have a look at the Oath of the Ancients. Yeah, now the Oath of the Ancients, essentially, instead of you just being some kind of person that believes in righteousness and, like, how would you say it? Justice and courage and honor and all that. It's more about that you have the sort of you have a belief in something that's older than the race. Kind of reason Oath of the Ancients is as old as the race of elves and rituals of druids, sometimes called Fey Knights, Green Knights, Horn Knights, Paladins who swear oaths, cast the lot with the side of light in the cosmic struggle against darkness, because they love the beautiful and loving giving things of the world. Yeah, I do apologize. Felt like a mumble rapper there. And obviously you got Tenants of the Ancients. Their oath spells, they get some great ones. Ensnaring Strike, which can restrain targets. Speak with animals, they get to speak to all the fun animals. So if you want to be like a kick-ass druid ish person, you get to speak with animals, which is great. You get Moonbeam, which is you can literally move a beam of light around the battlefield, doing a bit of damage, moving it around on your turn. You get a little bit of a teleportation move with Misty Step as a bonus action, which is always fun. And obviously different spells that continue to go down the list from there. Your Channel Divinity, your main one is Nature's Wrath, which kind of allows you to restrain a target for some time, where you can run in and start smacking it about. It's a shame though, it requires an action, because it kind of like, it's, if they pass, it's kind of a wasted turn. It's a shame. And your Channel Divinity is gone. Turn the Faithless, kind of, if depending on if it's a Fey or fiend, you get them basically, if they fail the save, they run away from you, they dash away from you. And if it's something that's like a hag that has changed their form, they can't, they go back to their original form, which is great. Obviously they've got more features. Feel free to go on D&D wiki. Like their big transformation is called Elder Champion. At the start of your turn, you gain 10 hit points. Whenever you cast a Paladin spell that has a casting time of 1 action, you can use a bonus action instead. These features at the end are always awesome. They're just at level 20. But feel free to go on D&D Wiki, which is another great resource that delves straight into the information, rather than you physically, going through all the readouts and stuff like that. Up next, we've got the Oath of Devotion. Yeah, the Oath of Devotion binds a paladin to the loftiness ideals of justice, virtue, and order. Now that you've got the tenets of devotion there, you've got the spells, which is protection from good and evil, which gives you kind of protections from different monster types. You've got Sanctuary, which means that if a monster wants to hit you, they've got to roll a wisdom saving throw before they do, and pass it before they can even try and hit you. You've got Lesser Restoration, which allows you to restore certain, things like disease and poison or what have you, which is pretty good. It's a bit of it does a bit more stuff than your healing pool, what that's got the ability to do. You got Zone of Truth, which means that things can't lie if they fail it, which is great. Your Channel Divinity, you've got Sacred Weapon, which basically means that you get to add some extra damage based off your charisma modifier. Your weapon starts to shine with like a brimming light, and it becomes magical, so that you can pass resistances and stuff like that. You've got you get an aura as a paladin at level 6, which gives you, and every level 7 one is an upgrade to the aura. Again, I'll go that on the class guide. Hey y'all. So the paladin was getting a little bit long in the tooth. I realized that I was nearly getting close to 30 minutes, so I'm going to skip straight on to the ranger. Now, if you want to have a look at the different subclasses and stuff, I would advise you to go to D&D Wiki. It's got loads of resources there where you can just kind of click on the tabs, have a look at the different subclasses, read about what they can do, and just get a better general idea on what their spell list and what abilities they can do, really. But yeah, let's move on to the ranger, shall we? Now, The Ranger, there's a slight disclaimer. The Ranger is known as one of the weakest subclasses in D&D, and that's mainly due to the way the features are interpreted within the game. For certain campaigns, Rangers are extremely good. The features that they have when it comes to tracking their favored enemies and favored terrain and stuff like that can be absolutely crucial for the right campaign. But overall, when they first came out in the 2014, they were kind of seen, similar to the monks, to be a little bit of a weaker class. Now, Wizards of the Coast have done a great job with added optional features that the Ranger can take advantage of, like expertise and other advantages that I will mention in a later video, because I'll go through all the kind of added optional class features from all of the classes in that video. But right now, I'm just going to kind of go as what the initial Ranger has the ability to do from level 1 to 5, and a couple of the subclass features, a couple of the subclasses and their features. And again, Rangers, as much as obviously on D&D Beyond, Rangers, it's got a really good kind of outline of kind of what the Ranger is, where it's not just, this bastion of nature that protects it and, perhaps has their own places that they patrol around and look at. But D&D has done a great job as well of kind of expanding that to urban rangers and rangers where it's not just forest areas but deserts and different climates and stuff, similar to deadly hunters and independent adventurers. Again, if you want to have a little bit more of a read on D&D Beyond, kind of a little bit more about the background of what the kind of the class of Ranger represents, feel free to do that. There's a lot written here that will give you some really good imagination ammunition for when if you want to create your Ranger. There are incredible archetypes like Aragorn from Lord of the Rings that were Rangers, lots of inspiration to choose from, if you will. And it kind of says here that obviously as you create your ranged character, considering the nature of the training that gives you your particular capabilities, did you train with a single mentor, wandering the wilds together? Was it some natural entity, that's an animal lord from the 2024 rules that kind of showed you the way of how to protect the nature of the things around you? And what's your backstory? Perhaps it was a monster type that from your childhood that became your favorite enemy. Perhaps they killed a member of your family or your mentor, or certain humanoids burnt the lands around that you were sworn to protect, and now it's actually humanoids that are your favorite enemy. With Rangers, though, they are usually dex based. They can be strength based, but a lot of them sort of wield bows, and their main highest ability on a Quickbuild is usually dexterity, followed by wisdom. Similar to Paladins, their wisdom is based on their spellcasting and a lot of their other features, especially in the realms of their subclasses. And Rangers as well have basically the same spell progression as you look down on the table to the right, with all of their abilities from level 1 to 20. They go, because they are half casters, they go through the same spell progression as Paladins. So I don't need to go over that again, but let's have a look at their abilities, starting with their class features. So similar to the Paladin and the Fighter, they have a D10 hit die per Ranger level. Obviously, first level is 10 plus your Constitution modifier. Their proficiencies, they have light, medium, armor, and shield, so they don't have access to heavy armor, which fair enough. The weapons are simple weapons, martial weapons, again, pretty much all weapons. They don't have any tool proficiencies again. They might get a tool proficiency with their subclass, and I believe there are some alternate features that I will explain in the other videos where they do get access to things like some tool proficiencies and what have you. They get access to things like expertise as well, which is a really good optional class feature to exchange out. Their saving throws are strength and dexterity, which kind of makes sense. If they're patrolling around the land, not only are they strong, but they're dexterous as well. So they're able to kind of maneuver around the usual pitfalls of survival and exploration. They also get to choose between 3 of these skills from animal handling, athletics, insight, investigation, nature, perception, stealth, and survival, which again, pretty good representation of what a Ranger does and what they should be able to do. Their equipment, you can start with the following equipment in addition to the equipment granted by your background: scale mail, or leather armor. You've got 2 short swords or 2 simple melee weapons. You've got a Dungeoneer's pack or an Explorer's pack. You've got a longbow and a quiver of 20 arrows. Yeah, so if you want to be that ranger that's running around with a bow and arrow, you get it straight from the start, straight from the get-go. But let's have a look at their abilities. We're going to start off with our favored enemy. So this is kind of where you can get to pick what kind of enemy type your character is going to specialize in hunting. You know, perhaps they hunt ogres, maybe they hunt dragons. Again, maybe they hunt humanoids. You know, maybe you're playing an orc ranger that hunts dragonborn. You know, perhaps you're, you know, a specific type of thing, and again, you get advantages based upon your favorite enemy. So beginning at first level, you have significant experience studying, tracking, hunting, and even talking to a certain type of enemy. Choose a type of favorite enemy: aberrations, beasts, celestials, constructs, dragons, elementals, fays, fiends, giants, monstrosities, oozes, plants, or undead. Alternatively, you can select 2 races of humanoid, such as gnolls and orcs, as favored enemies. You have advantage on wisdom survival checks to track your favored enemies. So if you're hunting someone down and they're your favorite enemy, you've literally got advantage on tracking them, which is always good. Again, as I said before at the start of the video, in the right campaign, the ranger's a boss. Yeah, so don't let my first initial kind of reading of the Ranger kind of deter you from becoming one, because I know that there are plenty of strong options out there for Rangers. It's just seen in the overall class system as being one of the slightly weaker ones. Again, buffed up by the class features, that it really came back strong. It got a real good glow up by Wizards of the Coast. So let's keep going. As well as on intelligence checks to recall information about them. So again, behind the wizard's curtain, if you're fighting a lot of trolls regenerate HP unless you hit them with certain damage types, mainly fire. Now, if you are a ranger and your favorite enemy is a troll, and your DM expects you not to just know everything about trolls, and you want to go, oh, what are trolls weak to? They might ask you to roll a history check. Yeah, so that would be an intelligence check. So you get to roll that with advantage to see if you remember any weaknesses about them. So again, pretty good. You know, perhaps your favorite enemy are dragons, and you're going to be fighting a white dragon or a red dragon, or well, any type of dragon really, and you will be able to know what their breath weapon might be. You know, so you can maybe get a magic item or a potion that will give you resistance to it. You know, there are lots of advantages to using these skills. You also gain, when you gain this feature, you also learn 1 language of your choice that is spoken by your favorite enemy if they speak one at all. So you do get an extra language from this, which is pretty good. You can choose 1 additional favorite enemy as well as an associate language at 6th level and 14th level. As you gain levels, your choices should reflect the types of monsters you've encountered on your adventures, which is just a little bit of RP there. Now, you also get the ability of Natural Explorer. You are particularly familiar with 1 type of natural environment and are adept at traveling and surviving in such regions. So not only do you have a favored enemy, you've got a favored area, basically, like, again, a forest, a desert, maybe an ice scape, a mountainous region. Yeah, choose 1 type of favored terrain: Arctic, coast, desert, forest, grassland, mountain, swamp, or the Underdark. Yeah, which might be for your drows out there. When you make an intelligence or wisdom check related to your favorite terrain, so that's perception checks, investigation checks, survival checks, nature checks, your proficiency bonus is doubled if you're using the skill that you're proficient in. So again, you basically get expertise when you're in that area to any wisdom or intelligence check, which is awesome. Yeah, awesome. While traveling for an hour or more in your favorite terrain, you gain the following benefits. Difficult terrain doesn't slow your group's travel. Your group can't become lost except by magical means, even when you are endangered in another activity while traveling, such as foraging, navigating, or tracking. You remain alert to danger, which is, again, great. If you are traveling alone, you can move stealthily at normal pace. Yeah, so usually if you're trying to stealth through a place, you're kind of walking and ducking around corners, RP style. In this, you're just running around. as fast as you can, getting through the place under the guise of that you know that what the area is and all the little trappings and sinkholes and little hidey holes are. When you forage, you find twice as much food as you normally would. Again, great. A ranger would be great at going into a village that's starving and just going out and in their favorite terrain and bringing back a load of food. While tracking other creatures, you also learn their exact number, their size, and how long ago they passed through the area. So again, they are terrain wizards. Yeah. Again, right campaign, rangers are awesome. And if you do an all ranger campaign in a terrain where they're all favored in it, you have got a massive advantage, like a one shot or something like that. You also get to choose an additional favored terrain type at 6th and 10th level. Now, you also get a fighting style, which, similar to the fighters and the paladins, you get to pick from. Now, a lot of people will go with the archery fighting style if they're wielding a bow, because you just get a +2 to the attack roll, not the damage, the attack roll. Yeah. And you don't get to cause damage if you can't hit the creature. Yeah. Just a flat +2 as well is when you start getting into feats like sharpshooter, where you get a -5 penalty but +10 damage, like a +2 bonus to the attack roll, again, is the difference between you hitting multiple creatures and you not hitting anyone in your turn. You get the defensive fighting style, you get a +1 to AC, which is brilliant. The dueling fighting style, again, if instead of wielding a bow, you want to go in there with a short sword, and a shield maybe. For up close and personal combat, dueling is always great. And here's the fun one. Talking of like Lord of the Rings, if you want to play Legolas, 2-weapon fighting is for you. When you engage in 2-weapon fighting, you add your ability modifier to the damage of the second attack. Now, if you put a simple weapon in your offhand, you can always make a bonus action attack. Yeah. If you have you can always make a bonus action attack. You do not get to add your ability modifier to that. So if you've got a +4 to dex and you're rolling a +6 with a short sword, you only get to do and you roll a 1 on damage. You just do 1 damage. With 2-weapon fighting, you get to add that +4 on. So it's a permanent buff to damage as you're making that offhand attack. You can also increase that as well as getting the 2-weapon master. The dual wielding feat, then, which allows you to use not just simple weapons but martial weapons as well. And it gives you a +1 to AC and stuff like that. So there is 2-weapon fighting options out there. Not the best in 2014 2-weapon fighting, but there are options. 2024 does a lot better job of representing 2-weapon fighting. Spellcasting. Here's the fun bit. By the time you reach 2nd level, you have learned to use the magical essence of nature and cast spells, much as a druid does. See the spell rules for general rules of spellcasting and the spell list for the ranger spell list. Again, rangers have got their own spell list. They get to choose the spells that they want, similar to the paladin, like a bit of a buffet. They can switch those spells in and out and prepare them as they wish, as long as they've got access to the spell slots. Yeah, you can only prepare level 2 spells if you've got level 2 spell slots, or level 3 spells if you've got level 3 spell slots. Yeah, for example, if you know the 1st level spell Animal Friendship and have a 1st level spell, 2nd level spell slot available, you can cast Animal Friendship using either slot. Spells known at 1st level or higher, 2 1st level spells of your choice from the Ranger spell list. The spells known column of the Ranger table shows when you learn more Ranger spells of your choice. Each of these spells must be of a level of which you have slots. For instance, when you reach 5th level in this class, you can learn 1 new spell of 1st and 2nd level. Additionally, when you gain a level in this class, you can choose one of the Ranger spells and replace it with another spell from the Ranger list, which must also be a level of which you have spell slots. My gosh, so completely disregard what I just said. Look at this, Idiocracy Collective. I'm dumb, definitely, and I'm learning. Brilliant. Yeah, so you don't actually get to get spells as a bit of a smorgasbord. You pick it as you go, and you can replace it with another spell when you gain a level. Okay, so do me a favor, completely disregard what I said 30 seconds ago about you getting to pick from a buffet. It's all to do with when you level up and stuff. If you speak to your DM, though, I'm sure, as I would as a DM, let you pick your spells out and stuff like that. If you're not happy with a spell, D&D is about having fun. Yeah, as much as it's a game where we play and there are stakes and stuff like that, if we're not having fun, and that, by the way, that could mean that you're having a tough battle that's very emotion driven. You know, you're sad or whatever, but you know that emotion is worth something in that moment, which allows you to enjoy it. Yeah. You might not feel great about it in the moment, but it's an enjoyable experience because it's something that's giving you an emotional roller coaster. You know, that's perfectly fine. Yeah. Just as long as you're not having a bad time at the table. That's all I care about anyway. Now, additionally, when you get, sorry. So spellcasting ability, wisdom, similar to charisma for paladins, is your spellcasting ability for your ranger spells. Since your magic draws on your attunement to nature, you can use your wisdom whenever a spell refers to your spellcasting ability. In addition, you can use your wisdom modifier when setting the saving throw DC for a ranger spell you cast and when making an attack roll with one. Yeah, so you'll find some features you actually have to use a spell attack with the ranger instead of just attacking with your weapon or whatever, and you use that via your spell attack modifier, which is your proficiency plus wisdom modifier, spell save DC or difficulty class 8 plus proficiency bonus plus wisdom modifier. And the enemy's got to reach that or get above it to negate the effect that you're trying to put on them. Now, the ranger archetype. At 3rd level, you choose an archetype that you strive to emulate. Yeah. Now, what's detailed in the thing below is the hunter, which I'll go through in a second. And you get choices for your class at 3rd, 7th, 11th, 15th level. Yeah. So unlike the Paladin, where they get their final subclass feature at level 20, it's only level 15 for the Ranger, which is pretty good. Yeah. A lot of people, by the way, will go out because of the later abilities that you get in Ranger. They will usually multi-class out of Ranger at level 5 or 6. And when I do a class guide on the Ranger, I'll go into a bit more of a reason of why. And lots of people have revised the Ranger and done lots of different things to it to make it more appealing to stay in the class. The Dungeon Dudes did a incredible kind of revamp of the Ranger, where near the end of the levels they were critting on an 18 or 20 due to their favored enemy and stuff like that, and that to do with the Hunter's Mark, and stuff in the 2024 rules. And it's just a really imaginative way to kind of go around and give the Ranger a bit more of a buff. That's their archetype. Their Primeval Awareness, which beginning at level 3, you can use your action to expend 1 Ranger spell slot to focus your awareness on a region around you. For 1 minute per level of the spell slot you expend, you can sense whether the following types of creatures are present within 1 mile of you. Yeah, so this is a really good way. If you're chasing something down, you can attune with the nature around you for it to kind of direct you to the spot where your prey is heading or is. Now, or up to within 6 miles if it's within your favorite terrain, which is great. Aberrations, Celestials, Dragons, Elementals, Fae, Fiends, and Undead. This feature doesn't reveal the character's location or number, but you can know if they're within within that kind of mile. Yeah. Obviously, level 4, you get an ability score improvement. Yeah. Which you also get or feat, which you get at 4th, 8th, 12th, 16th, and 19th level. Again, 16th and 19th. Most campaigns go to level 13. It's great to know that you get them, but oftentimes you find that your characters won't go that way. So you're only getting, say, 3 to 4 if you go up to 16, ability score increases or feats. So again, try and plan ahead. Yeah. Obviously, you can increase 1 ability score by 2 or 2 by 1, or you can get yourself a feat. Yeah. You get an extra attack at level 5, and you can attack twice instead of once whenever you take the attack action on your turn. Yeah. Now, that is kind of the bog standard features that you get from the Ranger. Obviously, you get more feats as you level up. The really cool thing about the Ranger is I really love their subclasses. Now, let's have a quick go through them. Now, if you want a pet, you want a little cuddly creature or maybe a bear or something like that, like your Vexalia from the Critical Role campaign. Oh, God, what was the name of a bear? Trinket. There we go. Yeah. Then the Ranger subclass is for you. Yeah. The Beast Master on Conclave. Yeah. So essentially, you get a Ranger's companion. Yeah. Which, as you start off at 3rd level, isn't exactly which can be very, very good at lower levels and stuff like that. Unfortunately, in higher levels, it kind of dies off a little bit. You can replace the Ranger's Companion feature with a magically summoned Primal Beast, because one thing is, if you look at, if you read into it, if your creature dies, you kind of have to go off into the forest and find another one. You get kind of pre-made stat blocks. Beasts, as you gain levels in this, by the way, you get access to like flying beasts and beasts of the sea and stuff like that. And it kind of gives you a rundown of what your creature can do, and you activate it on a bonus action, so it kind of takes your action economy away a little bit. But if you want to have a companion, the Beastmaster is a great addition to a party, and lots of fun. And if you're at home and you've got a dog that you love and you want to bring that into the game with you, and role play it like it's your dog. The things that they would do, they chase their tail, or they like to go out for walks, or anything else. You've also got, which is mostly known as the best Ranger subclass, because of its very early game features, and loads of multi-class. There's a joke that it's this is the Gloomstalker, by the way, a Gloomstalker Battlemaster Fighter Assassin Rogue. Where on the first turn of combat you just nuke everything into the ground. Essentially, Gloomstalkers are at home in the darkest places, deep under the earth, in gloomy alleyways, in primeval forests, and wherever else the light dims. And you'll see what it's going on about when it says that it lives in kind of dark, dreary places. So, firstly, you get Gloomstalker magic, which is at different levels. You get access to different spells that I don't think are on the Ranger spell list. One of the two of them might be, but I don't think all of them are. I don't know about Disguise Self, but things like Rope, Trick, and Greater Invisibility, I don't know if they're on the Ranger spell list. I will have to double check. Ranger is a class that I've got a little bit weak on. So, please bear with me. And basically, starting at 3rd level, you learn an additional spell when you reach certain levels in this class, as shown in the Gloomstalker spells table. This spell counts as a Ranger spell for you, but it doesn't count against the number of Ranger spells you know. Right, so here are the big abilities that everybody loves and everybody enjoys. A good old-fashioned Gloomstalker Ranger multi-class with a bit of rogue, like Veo Senya from the Dungeons of Drakkenheim. Yeah. At 3rd level, you master the art of the ambush. You can give yourself a bonus to your initiative rolls. This is Dread Ambusher, equal to your wisdom modifier. So you got a good wisdom, you're adding it automatically to your initiative rolls, which is when you start a battle, you roll initiative, and it essentially, your initiative determines what turn order you're going to take. So if you've got a really good initiative, you might always go first in battle, which means that you can make a preemptive strike against any enemy coming after you. Yeah. So at the start of your turn on each combat, so this is the first turn, your walking speed increases by 10 feet, which is great. Gives you a lot more maneuverability, which lasts until the end of that turn. Yeah, so you only get that at the start, but still good on the first hit. If you take the attack action on your turn, you make 1 additional weapon attack. So if you're a level 5 ranger, not only do you get to make 2 attacks, you get to make 3. Yeah, on your first turn, and you get to add a D8 to that attack, to one of the attacks. If that attack hits, the target takes an extra D8 of damage of that weapon's type. So you're not only attacking another time, you're getting to add more damage to it as well. So here's another great feature. Umbral Sight. At 3rd level, you gain dark vision out to a range of 60 feet. If you already have dark vision from your race, its range increases by 30 feet. So if you've got dark vision of 60 feet already, you can now get 90. Yeah. Also, you are also adept at evading creatures that rely on darkness. So listen to this carefully. While in darkness, yeah, so dark vision, yeah, most monsters have got dark vision in lower levels. You are invisible to any creature that relies on dark vision to see you in darkness. So if you're in a room and you turn out all the lights and you've got creatures that would normally be able to see you in black and white in dark vision, you are invisible to them. So you have advantage on attacks. You crit much more effectively because you have that constant advantage. That's why a lot of them multi-class into rogue. And you essentially can become a commando that is just, they're looking straight at you, but they cannot see you. And you're just stood there with your weapon waiting to chuck it into their jugular. Of course, you can look at more of the features that kind of go through it, but again, most people multi-class out of Ranger at level 5 or 6. Well, that was the Ranger. Again, to reiterate, there are some great features there from level 1 to 5 that can really set you on a path of not only building a character that has kind of abilities that can work well if you've got a campaign that's built in a specific terrain, or if you know that within the campaign there are going to be specific enemies that you are going to come across over and over and over again. The Ranger has got some real strategic kind of levies and pulls that it can kind of draw from to really make it an absolute boss on the battlefield and outside the battlefield as well, which sometimes within certain classes you don't actually get that kind of pull. A lot of the classes that are really good outside of battle, it's because they've got access to magic, and it's not really their features that are giving them that kind of that availability to be, not only help themselves but help the party in different types of terrain and against different types of creatures and stuff like that. So up next, though, we are going on to the Rogue, which, again, as I said before, is known as a skill monkey because of its access to things like expertise and its extra skills, and even access to a few opportunities to get extra feats and things like that as well. And subclasses as well that kind of delve into different kind of archetypes. You've got things like the Arcane Trickster, your more Loki type character. You've got your Assassin Rogue, where, the kind of character that if you set it up right, you can end an encounter before it begins. Things like the Swashbuckler, which, if you've got more of a pirate themed character, it's really fun. So let's go on finally to the Rogue, shall we? So we are down to our final martial class / archetype, whichever way you want to call it, the Rogue. Now, the Rogue, of course, has got many, many lovely little abilities from level 1 to 5. As I say, start up here. D&D Beyond does a great job as well, not only with all the artworks and stuff that we've seen before, but also the class details. Again, make sure if you want to have a quick read of it, you give it a good little read, because it really just does give you a basic idea of kind of the background of what a rogue is. And, even when it comes to skills and precision here, rogues devote as much effort to mastering the use of a variety of skills as they do perfecting their combat abilities. Yeah, which kind of goes into that skill monkey thing I've been talking about. And, we've got parts here like a shady living, but don't pigeonhole the rogue. They don't always have to be that, shady living, a shady figure that, is a part of an assassin's guild or is always stealing or whatever. Sherlock Holmes could be a rogue. In fact, there's a type of rogue called a mastermind rogue or an inquisitor rogue that uses various skills and stuff like that, like their insight and things like that to activate things like their sneak attack. So, I think a lot about D&D is sometimes taking a class kind of for what it is, but what it could, not for what it is, but for what it could be and what it could represent, depending on what you want to represent at the table. And let's have a look here. So crafting a rogue, as you create your rogue character, consider the character's relationship to the law, which is quite a good little dichotomy there, especially when it comes to certain roguish archetypes. Do you have a criminal past or present? Are you on the run from the law or from an angry thieves guild master? Or did you leave your guild in search of bigger risks and better rewards? Have a little bit of a read of that. The quick build for a rogue, usually Dex would be your highest stat. And there's lots of reasons for that baked in with the class as well. It says here, next, make your intelligence your next highest stat. It doesn't need to be. Certain subclasses like the Arcane Trickster, that Loki archetype that we will kind of go into when we get into the subclasses. Rogues can be high in charisma if you're a swashbuckler. Rogues could be high in wisdom. Again, as I say, if you're an inquisitive rogue and you're using insight to engage a sneak attack. So it just depends on your play style. Yeah, but having a look at the rogue table from level 1 to 5, you get that expertise, which I explained before, sneak attack, which is something I mentioned before, thieves cant, which is kind of like sign language known by many thieves guilds, kind of the unwritten language of the underbelly of most cities. Notice at level 5, you do not get extra attack. Rogues don't get a second attack within their class. They are known for one attack. And if that attack doesn't hit, I've seen many a rogue very annoyed that they can't activate their sneak attack. But they do get many other abilities and things like that that really do improve their chances of survival, their chances of dashing around, getting out of danger and in danger if they want to. So you can also see here as well, they have their sneak attack column. Unlike the Paladins and the Rangers, who don't have access to, well, rogues are the only class that has access to sneak attack, like their spell slots, there is a progression. And starting at level 1, you get 1d6 sneak attack in every 2 levels. So on the odd number, your sneak attack goes up to a maximum of 10d6. Yeah, which can be, again, that's where that fistful of dice comes in, where you see like that, and you see someone spending 5 minutes trying to add up all the little random numbers that they've got. So let us go, though, to the class features. Now, as a rogue, you have the following class features. Hit points. It's a D8 hit dice, similar to the monk. Yeah, as rogues are known as more skirmishers or backline fighters, usually with a short bow or something like that. Your hit points, as I say, 8 plus your constitution modifier at level 1, and then it increases by 1d8 plus your constitution modifier. Your proficiencies, you've only got light armor, so there's no medium or heavy. Now, light armor goes off your dexterity. So if you've got things like studded leather or leather, or whatever, it's a 10 or 11, again, depending on the base of the armor that you've got and the quality and the rarity and what have you, it's usually going off plus your dex. Yeah, whatever the base is, 11, 12, whatever, plus your dex. So you having a good dex score really, really can affect your level of proficiency with your armor. And if you're wearing anything above a light armor, say you're multi-class with something, you can't activate your sneak attack, and you can't activate a few other features as well. So, being a bit more of a lighter armor has its benefits within the class. So up next, though, we have weapons. You have simple weapons, hand crossbows, which is cool, long swords, rapiers, and short swords. Yeah. So rapiers are martial weapons, but you don't have proficiency. In all martial weapons, it's just rapiers. Yeah. You've also got thieves' tools as well, which is pretty much the first tool that we've seen on here that you get inbuilt into the class. And thieves' tools are essentially the tools you would use to pick a lock. Yeah, or get into a window or something like that. There's like a crowbar in there, not just lock picks and things like that. Your saving throws are based off dexterity and intelligence. Yeah, now your dexterity saving throw, you're going to get a feature later on that I might, with the rogue, by the way, I might go a little bit above level 7, because you do get some really, above level 5, sorry, you do get a few other features that I might like to just dip my toe in the water in, just to give you a little bit more knowledge about them, because they are quite fancy and fun with the rogue. And intelligence as well, which is pretty good. Having a good intelligence saving throw kind of stops you being dumbed down or forced to do something you definitely don't want to do. Your skills, though, usually on this, you see you get a choice of 2 or 3. With the rogues, initially, they get a choice of 4. Yeah, and they get the widest variety of skills that they can choose from to get proficiency in. So they have acrobatics, athletics, deception, insight, intimidation, investigation, perception, performance, persuasion, sleight of hand, and of course, stealth. When you go to different subclasses as well, you often get given skills with these subclasses as well. Yeah, so it's, again, that skill monkey that I was talking about, this is the proof in the pudding. Yeah, and, a lot of rogues, they'll take things like the skilled feat, where you get extra proficiencies, or skill expert, where you get an extra expertise and stuff like that. But equipment, you either start off with a rapier or a short sword. Yeah, a short bow and quiver of 20 arrows, or another short sword. You get a burglar's pack. Yeah, let's have a look at this. So this includes a bag of 1,000 ball bearings, yeah, which you can throw on the ground for people to fall over. Essentially, imagine Home Alone and you're Macaulay Culkin. Yeah, 10 feet of string, a bell, 5 candles, a crowbar, a hammer, 10 pitons, a hooded lantern, 2 flasks of oil, 5 rations, a tinderbox, and a water skin, and a partridge in a pear tree, with 50 hemp of rope as well strapped to the side of it. So, you can get pretty inventive with that. You got your Dungeoneer's pack, your Explorer's pack, yada, yada, yada. You also get leather armor, 2 daggers, and thieves tools. So you do start off with your thieves tools, which is great. Now, one of the things that I'd say about thieves tools as well, being a tool, like I am now, being a tool, some DMs roll that if you roll a natural one, you break your thieves tools when you try and pick a lock or something like that. You know, you're lock picking and stuff. Your lockpicking stuff that is within the thieves tools, which is actually here. So thieves tools, I love D&D Beyond, by the way. You just hover it over and it comes up. This is a set of tools include a small file, a set of lockpicks, a small mirror mounted on a metal handle, a set of narrow-bladed scissors, and a pair of pilers. Proficiency with these tools lets you add your proficiency bonus to any ability check you make to disarm traps or open locks. Yeah. So again, really important that you've got proficiency in that. Yeah. So not only are you opening locks, you can disable traps as well. Now, here's the really fun bit. At first level, the first ability you get is expertise. You choose 2 of your skill proficiencies, so the things you've already proficient in, or none of your skill proficiencies and your proficiency with thieves tools. So you can get expertise in lock picking and trap disarming and all that if you want, if that's the kind of thing you want to do. Your proficiency bonus is double for any ability check you make that use either of those chosen proficiencies. Again, you're starting at level 1. Yeah, your proficiency bonus is 2, but with expertise it's 4. At level 5 it's 3. No, it's 6 now. Plus whatever ability you've already got that's giving you sort of that initial bonus to that. Again, if you've got a +5, or you take 1 level of rogue in a barbarian build to get expertise in athletics, you are an absolute nightmare as a grappler. Yeah, I think I mentioned it in my first video where I was a part of a one-shot where somebody took 14 levels of Giant Barbarian, someone cast Enlarge Reduce them, they had 1 level of Rogue, and they were grappling dragons. Yeah, so again, the synergy in multi-classing with the Rogue at the first level has got massive upsides. Yeah, and the only other way you can get really expertise is with the feat, the skill expert, and that's one of your small feat choices. Sometimes dipping 1 level in rogue gets you 2 expertise. Yeah, so again, really, really front-loaded class. Now, and also, by the way, sorry, at level 6 you choose 2 more proficiencies. Yeah, and gain this benefit. So at level 6 you have expertise in 4 separate skills. Yeah. Now here's the next beautifully designed little coup de grace. Yeah. I think that means what it means. Anyway, so sneak attack, yeah, beginning at first level, you know how to strike subtly and exploit a foe's distraction once per turn. Yeah, that's per turn, not round, by the way. So if you do it on your turn and you get a chance to do an opportunity attack, or you have another feature that allows you to attack out of your turn, yeah, you can activate this again. So again, really, really good skill. You got the Sentinel feat, and your ally gets attacked, and then you get to stab them. Yeah, with your little dagger or whatever, your rapier, whatever you're having, you get to add this sneak attack again. Yeah. Once per turn, you can deal an extra 1d6 damage to 1 creature you hit with an attack if you have advantage on the attack roll. Yeah. The attack must use a finesse or ranged weapon. Yeah. You don't need advantage on the attack roll if another enemy of the target is within 5 feet of it. So again, your ally gets attacked and you both are, you're both on the 2 squares there and the enemy's next to you, but it attacks your ally or, whatever. And you get to attack that foe with Sentinel, which is a feat. You get to add your sneak attack again. And it's, you mix it with loads of other abilities to really get that sneak attack off. And it can be an extremely, as if you're high level, extreme amount of damage that you're doing. Really, really good. That enemy isn't incapacitated and you don't have disadvantage on the attack rolls. The amount of extra damage increases as you gain levels in this class as shown as a sneak attack column. So every off, so 1, 3, 5, your sneak attack is going up by 1d6. Yeah. Now here's the Thieves Cant, the kind of, the sign language aspect of kind of your roguish training. So during your rogue training, you learn Thieves Cant. a secret mix of dialect, jargon, and code that allows you to hide messages in seemingly normal conversation. Only another creature that knows Thieves' Cant can understand such messages. It takes 4 times longer to convey such a message than it does to speak the same idea plainly. Now, one of my favorite examples of this is Cockney rhyming slang. Yeah, go to the Epland doors. Yeah. He's got half a monkey in there. All these words that were actually created by thieves and and the criminal underbelly in London to deceive the police that they knew would hang out in pubs trying to listen to them. One of the most notorious gangsters in Britain was a Welshman. Yeah, I forget his name now. It's bugging me that I can't think of it. I will try and get it up on the screen. And he spoke Welsh. Him and his clique, they spoke Welsh, and the police couldn't understand a word that they were saying. Because if you hear Welsh, my gosh, that is a very. It's a shame it's a language that's dying, but it's incredible to hear some of the syllabic like lines that they come out with. It's insane. In addition, you understand a secret set of signs and symbols used to convey short, simple messages such as whether an area is dangerous or a territory of the Thieves Guild, so whether it's in a territory of the Thieves Guild, whether loot is nearby, or whether the people in an area are easy marks or will provide a safe house for thieves on the run. Now, this is really good for DMs. If you've got a rogue in the party and you want to have a little bit of secret sauce in there to give this a little bit of, fun time Friday, you can put in Thieves' Cant in random places that only the one character with a little perception check will know. The other characters, if they go in perception check and they see, you see some squiggles on a thing, you've got no idea what it means. But the rogue walks past is like, that means that they're, that's actually a map, or that is this, or that says this, or this, or that's actually a quest sent by the Thieves Guild to kill someone. Or whatever, or they see their own name there with an underline on it or a dagger next to it. You can have some real fun with it. And again, Thieves' Cant is one of them. It's not particularly used as much as it could be. Now, at second level, again, an awesome feature for the rogue. This gives them their ability to dash, disengage, and hide. Yeah. Is their cunning action. Yeah. So starting at second level, your quick thinking and agility allows you to move and act quickly. You can take a bonus action on each of your turns in combat. This action can be used only to take the dash, disengage, or hide action. Now again, dashing, you get to move, double move your speed. Disengage, you get to withdraw from enemies without provoking opportunity attacks unless they've got an ability that negates the disengage action, or the hide action, which means that you essentially get to do a stealth check, as long as you're not in the line of sight of someone. If you go and you hide behind some rubble, and then I'm going to use the hide action as my cunning action, you roll a stealth check, they've got to physically roll a perception check to see. If you've got expertise in stealth and you roll like a 26 and you're against a town guard, they're going to need to crit to physically see you, and you can't technically crit on ability checks. Yeah, technically. But you tell that to players. But so and if you attack from being hidden, you have advantage in the attack. Guess what that does? Activates your sneak attack. Yeah, so you get many players that will run somewhere, they'll do whatever they're doing, leave themselves 10 feet of movement to run back around the corner, they'll hide so that they know they can activate their sneak attack next turn. Yeah. Now, at level 3, you get your roguish archetype. Yeah, and basically that archetype emulates that you emulate in the exercise of your roguish abilities. It goes on to talk about the thief. I'm not going to particularly talk about that. There's a couple of subclasses that I want to particularly talk about in regards to the rogue. But the ability score increase, when you reach level 4, yeah, you get an ability score or feat that you get an 8th, 10th, 12th, 16th, and 19th. Now, the other subclasses that I've spoke about in this video, the other classes, I've got to stop saying subclasses, the other classes that I've spoken about in this video do not have as many ability score increases or feat choices as the rogue. The fighter gets more than the rogue, but only, I believe, 1 less. But from levels 4 to 12, you get 4 choices. Yeah, and again, most campaigns end at level 13. So instead of getting 3, you're getting 4, and at 16 again, 5. And then if you do go to level 20, you get 6 choices, which can really be the difference between you really customizing your rogue to the way you want them to be, or really pumping up those stats. Now, at 5th level, you get a really, really good defensive feature. instead of extra attack. Yeah, your main damage is usually triggered by your sneak attack. Yeah, you don't need extra attack often as a rogue unless you've got a terrible chance to hit or what have you. But that's why you try and, change that out by hiding and getting that advantage and all that. Starting at 5th level with Uncanny Dodge, when an attacker that you can see hits you with an attack, you can use your reaction to halve the attacker's damage against you. Yeah, that is just any amount of damage. Yeah, you could get hit with 100 damage. Uncanny Dodge, it's only 50. I know 50 sounds like a lot, but 100 is way more. Yeah. Now, I'm going to go a little bit above. I'm going to go to level 11 with the next 3 features just for the rogue. And you get, so expertise, you get 2 more proficiencies. Yeah, at level 6. Level 7, you get something called evasion. Yeah, you can nimbly dodge out of the way of certain area effects, such as an ancient red dragon's fiery breath. So basically, if you have to make a dexterity saving throw, yeah, when you are subjected to an effect that allows you to make the dexterity saving throw to take only half damage, yeah, like a breath weapon attack, ice storm, and all that, you take no damage if you succeed on the saving throw, and only half if you fail. So you're always only taking half damage at level 7 if you can see the attack, or you will just take none. And again, because they've got proficiency in dexterity saving throws and base their main stat on oftentimes dexterity, they're going to have a good dexterity saving throw. So, rogues with evasion, similar to monks when they get to high levels, is an extraordinarily good skill. Now, reliable talent is the main one. By level 11, and you get reliable talent in the 2024 rules earlier, by the way, you have refined your chosen skills until they approach perfection. Whenever you make an ability check that lets you add your proficiency bonus, yeah, or expertise, yeah, you can treat a D20 roll of a 9 or lower as a 10. So even if you roll a natural 1, you can't fail that check. Yeah, and a DM that doesn't understand the ability. Yeah, just because you rolled a natural 1 on that ability check. Yeah, so you can never fail. Yeah, you can never nat 1 an ability check that you are proficient in, which is insanity. Really good. And the fact that you get it earlier in the 2024 rules is awesome. Now, let us go on to the subclasses. So the first one, probably the most well-known, is the Assassin. Now, the Assassin is a little bit, it gets a bad name a little bit as people kind of understand the subclass a little bit more, but it's one of the most widely taken depending on the DM you're with. So basically bonus proficiencies you get at 3rd level, you gain proficiency with the disguise kit and the poisonous kit. Yeah, which sounds good. You can disguise yourself as something and you might be able to poison people, or you might be able to work out what poisons have been used against someone else. Yeah, or you can disguise yourself as someone. You're playing a high charisma rogue. It's great. You can infiltrate an area. You're basically Hitman. Yeah, you go in there. Someone thinks, so the guards think you're someone else. You get to the person you need to kill. You stab him in the neck. Basically with the 3rd level assassinate feature, you crit on the first attack. That person's dead. You throw them in a trash can or a bush or over a balcony. Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. You get out of there, and look at that. You're assassin of the month. Yeah. 3rd level assassin feature. You are at your deadliest when you get the drop on your enemies. Yeah. You have advantage on attack rolls against any creature that hasn't taken a turn in combat yet. Yeah. So in addition, any hit you score against a creature that is surprised is a critical hit. And surprise basically is if you attack an enemy without them knowing that you're going to attack them and you get above them in the initiative, they could be under a category called surprise. Yeah, so you've surprised the enemy. Now, surprise works a lot differently in the 2024 rules, but basically, if an enemy is surprised, they just miss their first turn. But with the Assassin Rogue, if you get, and again, your dexterity increases your initiative. So if you get, if you've got like the alert feat that gives you a +5 to initiative, and you're getting a +10, a +11 to your initiative, and whatever other features you've got added to your initiative, yeah, you're going straight at combat, or say you've got a bow and you fire an arrow at an enemy that's far away and they don't know you're firing at them, you activate this assassinate feature straight away. If you hit them, you crit, which doubles the amount of sneak attack dice that you do, which is sensational. Again, it is a encounter ending subclass if used correctly. Again, it's all about the right DM with this, because I've seen so many people pick Assassin Rogue and the DM like doesn't even understand surprise or never wants to use it, or they say, oh no, they're guards that you couldn't surprise them. It's like, well, what's the point in the subclass then? Do you know what I mean? Anyway, that's that main feature at third. You don't get anything else until 9th level, obviously, with Rogue. So I'm only really going to go on the 3rd level features. Now, away from the Assassin Rogue, let's have a look at the Arcane Trickster. So the Arcane Trickster is the Loki archetype. Yeah, if you love being a bit sneaky, you love playing tricks, and you get to be mischievous and do lots of naughty things. It's a really fun subclass. You get access to magic as well. And let's have a look at this is the spell progression list that you get, because you do get access to spells, and you're known essentially as a 3rd caster, where you only get it up to 4th level, similar to the Eldritch Knight. Yeah, you also get cantrips here as well. You get the Mage Hand cantrip as well, and the thing with your Mage Hand cantrip, it's invisible. Yeah, so imagine you've got a little weird floating hand that can't really use to attack anybody, but it could like knock a drink over and get some barbarian type fella to think someone else has done something to them and start a bar fight while you pickpocket people, and you get to do all these fun shenanigans. And also you have like spells known and things like that. As we go down, spellcasting. When you reach 3rd level, you augment your martial prowess with the ability to cast spells. Cantrips, you learn three cantrips. Mage Hand and 2 other cantrips of your choice from the wizard spell list. You learn another wizard cantrip of your choice at level 10. Yeah, so you get access to the wizard spell list, which is really good. Wizard spell list got basically the biggest variety of spells that you can have. Spell slots. The Arcane Trickster spellcasting table shows how many spell slots you have to cast to cast your wizard spells at 1st level or higher. To cast one of these spells, you must expend a spell slot. For example, if you know the 1st level charm person and have 1 1st level spell and the 2nd level spell slot available, you can cast charm person using either slot. Yeah. Spells known at 1st level or higher, 3 1st level wizard spells of your choice, 2 of which must be chosen from the enchantment or illusion spells on the wizard spell list. So that is the category, of the type of spell that it is. You've got you've got enchantment, abjuration, you've got evocation, illusion, all these different types of categories of spells that kind of all allude to the type of spell that it is and what it is based on. Abjuration spells about defense, evocation's about destruction. Yeah. Again, learn more about that in another video. Yeah, so the spells known on the column of the Arcane Trickster casting table, when you learn more wizard spells of 1st level or higher, each of these spells must be an enchantment or illusion spell of your choice. Yeah, and must be of a level at which you have spells to cast. Yeah, you learn. For instance, when you have 7th level in the class, you can learn 1 new spell at 1st and 2nd level. The spells you learn at 8th level and 14th level and 20th level can come from any school of magic. And that's the end of our part 2 on the martial classes of Paladins, Rangers, and Rogues. I wanted to spend a little bit more time on the Paladins and Rangers simply because of their innate spellcasting. And I know personally for me, I'm still learning a lot of the stuff and making careless mistakes and things. And I just wanted to spend a little bit more time just going through the basics of it. And I've really enjoyed making the videos. Even learning simple things like being able to screen record from the first part 1 of the martials that I did. It's fun learning new things, and I'm trying to create a community based around like-minded individuals that do just want to have fun. I think Treant Monk's Temple has got a great moniker where he says D&D is for everyone, and it really is. And I've been thinking up my own moniker to kind of end the videos, and I think it might go along the lines of look after your mind and may you always roll with advantage. Something simple like that. If you've got any questions or comments or even like ending lines for each kind of little episode and thing that I make, please put it forward. I'm going to be looking in the future as well of making a Discord that I'll be linking to my channel where people can get a part of the like-minded community that I'm trying to create based around having fun and maybe like improving mental health and stuff like that. I want to be able to do things like raffles where people can kind of join up and put their name in a hat for a day in an event and a time that they've got available to them, and just have a little one shot with some new people and get to play, usually around level 11 and 12 and stuff like that. So at a slightly higher level, that's the kind of area that I like to play in. But just allow them to have a little bit of an opportunity to meet some new people, have some fun, and just generally share ideas. And again, if you want to comment, like, and subscribe, I hear that's really good for the YouTube algorithm. I'd love to hear your opinions on my thoughts and the things that I've said. And, and at the end of the day, I'm not the authority on D&D. There's still a lot for me to learn as well. And when I get onto these spellcasting classes, that's going to be the biggest hurdle for me, because I'm a martials guy. I've done a couple of... I've played a couple of characters that have gone into that have been full spellcasters, mainly clerics. Oh God, I'm gonna die when it comes to the wizard, as I've never played a wizard before. But you know what? I'm looking forward to it, and I look forward to getting more subscribers, getting that community together, and just having a wonderful time doing it. So, I've been Vinny Dean. You've been wonderful. Hopefully, you join the Idiocracy Collective. If not, good luck. And I wish to see you around very soon.